Hide your cell phones and toss out those tablets. Tonight, Mike Symonds joins me as we talk everything 5G. Mike is the host of the Anything Goes project, where he brings on guests to tell their stories and hopefully gain insight into the questions which people have been asking for centuries. Along with his show, he is interested in paranormal phenomena, origins of ghost stories, and urban legends. He is the author of the Apoc Z series. He's also a custom artistic woodworker and accomplished painter. He currently resides in Texas with his wife, and he is the father of 5 beautiful kids. So grab your favorite beverage and bust out those tinfoil hats. Conspiracy Corner is next. Tonight, I've got Mike Symonds with me, and as you can see, he's in his studio tonight, and he is the host of the Anything Goes project. And he's got a lot of other credits to his name. Obviously, you heard that on the intro. And how you doing tonight, Mike?
I'm doing great. It's been an awesome day. Just got through eating breakfast. That's going to really confuse your audience.
Oh, well, breakfast for dinner, or are you?
Absolutely.
I love it. Yeah. Or are you across the pond? No. Tonight, guys, we're going to kind of touch on a subject that a lot of the fans have been asking me to look into and actually just talk about or give my opinion and kind of theory craft on, and that's 5G. You know, what's the facts behind 5G? You know, you can watch one video and they say that run for the hills, you're going to be dead in a week after it all launches. And then you have other videos that say, nothing to see here, move along, you're fine. So with that said, I know Mike looked into it a little bit. I looked into it a little bit myself. And, you know, go ahead.
And I've also got kind of another background as far as dealing with radiation. I was a nuclear technician. I was one of the guys that actually got called out to nuclear plants. I can guarantee you I've had more radiation absorbed in my body than 20 years of use of one of these.
Amazing. Now, let me ask you something. Since you dealt in that nuclear field, I saw, have you ever heard of Owen Benjamin? He was a comedian, and he kind of got pushed out of Hollywood because he was...
No, I don't follow a lot of comedians.
Okay. But anyways, he was talking. He does a lot of conspiracy stuff now on his own private show. And he had a gentleman on that was older that was saying that he used to go around and he would have to do checkups, like quality checks on the nuclear plants.
Mm-hmm.
And these pools they had in there where they were cooling the rods, I guess.
Yep.
He said that he would just go swim in them, that nothing could happen to you.
And I will call bullshit on that because I know for a fact, because we had to bring in an underwater welder into one of those, and they have to wear an entire leak-proof suit. The suit is entirely contained. There's no way for any water or anything to get in. Well, his mask sprung a leak. And he had to drink the water to keep from drowning before he could get out. And he lived maybe another 3 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Those cooling chambers where the rods are and everything, that is considered probably one of the most highly radioactive areas in the plant, in the nuclear facility, because that's actually what's cooling the radioactive material.
Sure. Right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
If he's saying he could go swimming in that pool, I will call bullshit on that, because that guy, once they got him out, they had the entire radiation team out, and it was like pretty much the nuclear plant was just going to stroke a check because, that was it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was always curious because I've never researched it. I just kind of saw a video of this guy talking about it, and then Owen Benjamin kind of brought it up, and another guy kind of co-signed that check saying, "Oh yeah, it's nothing wrong. You can swim in those pools." And I don't know, so that's why I was asking you.
I'll put it to you. This is how careful they are about those environments down there. One, I got escorted everywhere I went with an armed guard. People were not allowed to talk to me when I was on doing my job.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't talk to me until they got me back to another location because they just didn't want me disturbed. But if I went down into like the core area, the radioactive area, I was fully suited head to toe to literally touch things on there. I had monitors on each one of my fingers.
Oh, wow.
And on my chest. And if one of those monitors went off, immediately out of the area.
Okay.
And then I had to go and get checked. I had to go into a radiation detection unit and all this stuff and get checked to make sure I didn't get overexposed.
Okay. All right.
And they are very, very cautious about everything that goes on. It literally would take you about an hour to an hour and a half just to get to the work location, because you have to go through all the checks and balances first.
Interesting. Well, there you go, fans. We answered something that we weren't even going to talk about tonight. And that's something I didn't know about you, Mike. So I'm glad that we found that out. And there we go. Another mysterious question answered for me in life.
Awesome.
I will stay far away from trying to swim in the radiation pools.
Yeah, I don't suggest swimming in radiation ponds.
All right, let me see.
Not unless you can do the Toxic Avenger thing.
Right. All right, well, with that out of the way, 5G, man, what's your initial thoughts on it?
Well, looking at it from all angles and everything, I'm going to play the skeptic on this and I wrote down a bunch of notes today, and some of our listeners, they may be trying to figure out, okay, what exactly is a radio signal? Well, fact number one is the type of radiation involved in wireless communications is in the range of radio waves, and it carries much less energy than the ionizing radiation, such as like X-rays and cosmic rays, UVs and stuff like that.
Right.
And these actually, those type of rays actually break up the chemical bonds that are within DNA, and that's what leads to cancer. And a lot of the studies I've looked at, tanning beds are worse for you than a cell phone. I mean, you're laying down and just bombarding yourself with UV rays.
Right.
And the UV rays and X-rays, and those are the things and nuclear, that's literally an X-ray.
Those are the ones that'll penetrate your skin.
Penetrate your body, the whole thing. Yeah, literally it'll penetrate your body into the wall behind you.
Okay.
And those things will actually break down the molecular bonds of your DNA.
Okay.
And so it's bad. That's bad. But cell phones, the 5G, let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. 5G or 2G, 3G, 4G, LTE, whatever you want. Those aren't microwaves. Those aren't like X-rays. It's a radio wave, an RF frequency, the same thing that's coming over a transistor radio. That's a radio wave. Okay, so that was one of the things that I wanted to throw out there real quick. And also, just to let people know that there are limits that are set by the Federal Communications Commission on the amounts of RF that a cell phone can emit. The only known effect of RF used in wireless right now, and this is through many scientific studies, the only known effect of RF is heating. They said in one of the studies I was looking at, they were showing, we were talking about 5G just earlier, that even 5G, the 5G, let's just forget what everybody has automatically stigmatized 5G. All that 5G stands for is 5th generation.
Right.
All right, so it's not some sort of mysterious thing. It's just a 5th generation of this wireless technology.
Right.
And basically what it's going to be running at about 24 to 29 megahertz, which is well under the safety standards that the Federal Communications, the maximum limit that a human body can actually take before it actually starts to penetrate the epidermis is 70 megahertz per minute squared, something like that. And so yeah, it's an interesting theory on it. I don't know how much it's going to affect us. I have heard of studies that people are starting to study that insects, though, it's already affecting, like bees and the wildlife and stuff like that. Well,
definitely the bees and birds and things.
If it's going to be affecting bees, then that's not good, because that's what we need for crops.
Yeah, pollination, that will affect us in the long run.
That'll affect us globally.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, like you, I delved into it too, and that's the first thing I wanted to know is what does the G stand for? And like you said, it's generation, 2nd generation, 3rd generation, now we're on up to 5G, 5th generation. Now, the only thing that I could find negative was over in Europe, in the EU. And I won't even say that was totally negative. But, I know you've heard about this. It's the 5G appeal, where they're asking them to hold off and give them time to research this, because they're not, all right, they're saying, yes, we understand that 5G by itself is not harmful, but we still have microwaves running, we still have 2G, 3G, and 4G, and then when you add in 5G, that those together could pose a harmful threat to humans.
I don't know if it's going to put us up there at that 100 megahertz threshold that they have, because I think 2G is only running at like 3 megahertz.
Gotcha.
So, but honestly, I think this is what's going to end up happening is those other generations of Wi-Fi or radio frequency, they're going to phase them out. I think, I would hope that's what would end up happening, because I'm going to tell you right now, I drove to Houston the other day and I got on 5G and oh my word, my phone worked.
Right. Yeah, no, and it's popping up everywhere now here in the U.S.
They just put up a new tower in our area. It's one of the new digital towers. It's probably about 11 miles from where I live, and it hasn't started broadcasting anything yet. So I barely get a signal out where I'm out 40 miles away from town. I'm out in the country.
I gotcha. And here's another misconception too. I know, and this is something I had to learn on my own, because at first, I was like, oh, 5G, it's the devil. But you do research and you live and you learn. With the 5G technology, it's been around. This is not a new technology. The military has been using it for years. And when the military was done with what they needed to do to get their self set up, T-Mobile actually moved in and was one of the first companies to purchase the technology. So, you've got Verizon and Sprint. I mean, everyone is on this bandwagon. They're jumping on it. So, but what I wanted to point out to the fans is that this technology has been around a lot longer than we've been made aware of in the public. And obviously, because anything that the military has, you can give to us, look at 15 to 20 years later, usually.
Yeah.
Tech-wise. But here's also what I found interesting. Let me bring this up to you, Mike, and see what you think. They said that their real scare with the 5G to them is the radio frequency, the frequency that it's going to be on vibrates water. Okay. And if it's vibrating water, that it could change molecules inside of animals and possibly humans. They need to test that portion of it, because if they put something out there, just imagine, they said if it's vibrating the waters, and our bodies are made up of fluids, 70% fluids, yes. What could it do to us? Could it drive people maybe crazy? Could it cause imbalances that are not even heard of yet?
Well, see, that's the part where I would be kind of skeptical about it being able to vibrate the actual liquids within our body, because like we said, 5G, the radio frequencies don't actually start penetrating through the outer epidermis of a human body until it gets past that 70 megahertz threshold.
Sure.
And our cells have protective membranes around them. We're vibrating them every day. We're vibrating it just by talking.
Right.
You're running vibrations through your body. I'm running vibrations through my body with this headphone on or my Bluetooth on. So I wouldn't know now, as far as it being able to vibrate a body of water and affect the ecosystem, that might be something that we have to look at. Yeah, I think as far as as human beings, animals and things like that, our outer protective epidermises and stuff will protect us. But if, let's say, a cell tower is right by a marsh that's full of endangered species of an amphibian or something, is it going to disrupt the breeding patterns of them, or is it going to vibrate the water and cause their eggs to not properly form and to hatch out correctly? So then we could actually look at, is this going to be destroying an ecosystem?
That, and I never even thought about that. You're right. What if, the marshlands or even small ponds and lakes that everything in that area requires for everyday use? What if it does start affecting it at the smaller levels and then moving outwards? Yeah. So.
Or aquatic life that actually uses sound
Mhm.
as their way of communicating or their way of finding prey. Are these vibrations in the water going to be disrupting that as well, which would hinder them from getting the food they need, which would cause starvation on them? And it's just that I think as far as us, we'll be fine.
Mhm.
I think more of what we need to start looking at are these radio frequencies going to be affecting ecologies, insects, bees, things of that nature, water,
Mhm.
aquatic life. Because, if we start destroying our ecosystems, oh, shit, we're already doing it.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean, are
Yeah.
our great grandkids going to have a world to even call home?
Right. 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 Yeah. Hey, man, you are.
Yeah. Oh, and back on the UK though, the UK
Mhm.
part.
Mhm. Mhm.
The UK has always been cautious about these things. I mean, that's where the World Health Organization in that area is from.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
in 2011, the World Health Organization actually declared cell phones a class 2B carcinogen. I don't know
Right.
if you knew that or
No. Yeah. Yeah.
and but here's the thing I want to point out. This does not instantly imply that they're dangerous.
Mhm.
For one, let's look at some other class 2B carcinogens.
Mhm.
Pickles.
Yeah. Anything.
Pickles, aloe
Anything
vera
pickled.
extract, being a firefighter.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think they're overly cautious on a lot of stuff, but you got to think they're a highly populated area and they don't want something that's going to happen that's going to severely disrupt the order around there.
Mhm.
We're
Mhm.
a little more spread out here in the US.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Um. So, all right, and then moving on with a little more of the 5G, unless you got something you want to throw back on that.
Well, let's look at the cancer rates. I
Oh
actually
yeah, yeah,
found
yeah.
some percentages on the cancer rates, and it says that cancer rates is only up 1.14% since the launch of cell phones in 1983. The rates are actually down 9.56%. Compared to when GSM CMDA networks launched, causing an explosion of cell phone use in the United States in the 90s. So the cancer rates didn't actually do anything. They've actually gone down a little bit. I think a lot of that has to do with our health care.
Right. Hmm. Hmm. Well, I also think there's so many factors to cancer, and a lot of it too is
Environmental.
environmental, processed foods, the way you eat,
Mm-hmm.
how you live your life. That is, and yeah, we have seen now. There is one thing they said there was an uptick in brain cancers, and brain cancers kind of hit home here because my ex, uh, at 38, was diagnosed with stage 4 glioblastoma.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very rare because usually it doesn't happen until usually it's found in people that are 60, 70 years old, and more times men than women. So it was kind of a weird situation there.
But are you looking at it as a causation versus correlation or something just because we're
Well,
talking about
no,
the cell
well, no, no,
phone?
no, no. And I wasn't saying it was cell phone
Well,
related,
I'm just
but
saying that's what a lot of people would attribute it to is because that's the hot topic right now. It's
right,
like
yeah.
well, what about this person's genetics? Were they
Hmm.
genetically predisposed to
Sure, no,
having
that, yeah.
uh, something happened in their childhood that may have caused a brain injury? And we know
Hmm.
scar tissue can become malignant at some point. And
Absolutely.
I mean, there's just so many variables. I mean, I don't think there's been enough studies.
Right.
The only study that I read about was the rat study done by, I actually have their names.
Hmm.
It was John Butler of the National Toxicology Program and Jonathan Samet. He was an epidemiologist.
Hmm.
They did that rat study, and they tried to come out and say, hey, look, we're bombarding these rats, the full body though. They weren't just doing like, oh, we've got the phone at our head. They were
Hmm.
doing full body, and they were saying some
Right.
of these male rats were having like cancerous carcinomas or something around their heart.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I
Okay.
read that.
However, when other people went back and that's why we peer review things.
Hmm.
They peer reviewed their data, and they were like, there were too many uncontrolled variables in your study, guys.
Hmm.
We can't call this conclusive.
Hmm. Right.
So, I mean, that's been the only study as far as like that goes. All the other studies have shown nothing so far.
Right. And there's been no human studies. And
No.
I think that's one thing that the EU is pushing as well with the European Commission is they're wanting to be able to, you know, get off a 5 to 10 year gap of testing larger animals and then possibly humans. But you know, no one's going to wait around. Everyone's going to keep pushing forward because everyone's worried about falling behind tech-wise. But here's a scary thing, and they listed this in the papers that were released: is that there's going to be 10 to 20 billion connections by the time 5G is implemented. And it's not just 5G, folks, because the 5G is that's going to make these smart appliances more viable, where a lot of us have these smart appliances in our home now, and even in our cars, and they work half the time properly, and the other half they don't work. It's because, you know, there's not enough bandwidth, I guess. But they said there'll be 10 to 20 billion 5G connections through what they put up, and then smart refrigerators, washing machines, surveillance cameras.
I've already got all that too.
Self-driving cars, stoplights, and then what they're going to be calling, everything's tied into what? They're going to start calling it the Internet of Things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and I can actually attest to this because in my home has set up. I'm a tech geek. I love the tech.
okay.
I've got, make sure, it's on mute. I've got an Alexa in almost every room of the house. Oh crap, my tablet was sitting here. Turn that off. I've got one of those dot things sitting in almost every room of my house. I utilize it daily. When I get up in the morning, my coffee is automated. Boom, it's ready to go. I grab my coffee. I look over at the kitchen counter and I tell it, hey, read me my news flashes this morning while I'm drinking my coffee. The dot's over there giving me my news flashes. Washers and dryers all notify me when they're done. I've got cameras all over my property that are motion detection, everything. I live out in the country, so I need, right. I put cameras outside to UPS and keep people from stealing packages. Mm-hmm. And I've got a few inside, and then I've got some around my livestock that I've got. And it's just the world of technology. It's the world that we're coming to. And if and when Tesla makes their cars affordable, I will probably end up getting one of those test driving ones. I'm going to be really disappointed, though, if it doesn't make that noise when I'm going down the road.
Yeah, I'd love to have a Tesla. That'd be sweet.
Oh man, and especially since right now they're releasing their own insurance for Tesla owners. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's going to be 30% less than what you normally pay.
But here's the only problem with that too, is that the only thing I didn't like about Tesla is that only Tesla will allow you have to have them to work on your car.
Yeah.
Like, and then there's this one guy, I was watching a video, this has been months ago, that he has made himself self-taught because he owns a Tesla and he was tired of paying the ridiculous prices. So he taught himself how to rebuild and put parts together on it. So now he goes around the country re-salvaging crashes or, you know, Teslas that are no longer in use, and he'll salvage the pieces for his own personal garage at home, and he does all the work on his own. At first, him and Tesla were having a big issue, but I guess now they're like, okay, we allow you to do it. And they said, but the problem is not that we don't want people to do it. It's so dangerous.
Yeah, because if they get in there and mess with something within the computer parameters, mm-hmm. that deactivates a safety default, mm-hmm. and it's self-driving and it runs over a pedestrian, now you're the one liable for that because you deactivated it.
Mm-hmm. And they said not only that, they said there's certain things you can tamper with that can cause those batteries to just heat up and explode without you even noting, or without you knowing. So so I get it, you know, but there's always two sides to everything. So
hey, like I said, it's the world of technology. Everybody is scrambling for the best. I mean, I have an iPhone. I've had Androids. Every year I get a new one. Everybody does it. We've been doing it since the 80s when new technology. I can remember in the 80s, I had to have this big boom box because it was the newest thing. Held 14 D-cell batteries.
Yeah. Do you remember too when you had to have the mini TV DVD where you'd put the DVD and then the screen would pop up? And
I've still got one.
Yeah, I think I do somewhere. I mean, and that was like, oh man, if you had one of those, man, you were rolling. And
yeah, because you take it with you in your car and stuff like that. I've still got one put up somewhere, and that's what we used to use for the kids. I just, here, guys, take that.
I'll take you one further than that. Pre-cell phones, when we were on pagers.
Oh yeah, I had a pager.
But I had the SkyTel pager that actually sent you like 2 sentences worth of information.
Yeah.
Remember those?
I had the Nextel phone.
Oh wow, yeah.
One that worked as a walkie-talkie.
Yeah.
Also, I was also one of the first ones on BlackBerry, the old BlackBerry.
The original, yeah.
Original one. So I just recently went to an iPhone because that's what I was using.
Right.
BlackBerry. I'm a BlackBerry fan. I love them. I just you can't do anything. The problem I had here again, we're having a problem with digital signals. The firmware updates wouldn't work on the BlackBerry because BlackBerry guards their software so hard.
Gotcha.
So my phone quit working. I was like, well, this isn't going to work. But yeah, technology is something that I think a lot of people embrace.
Yeah.
A lot of people take it for granted.
Yeah. Well, it's Pandora's box, man. You know, we're learning as we go. We've reached the heights of where now, okay, I think we know how everything works. Now it's just a matter of making it better, faster, smaller, cheaper. You know, and it's the thing with the whole 5G thing too, you know, and we really don't know any long-term effects on any of this actually, because let's think about it. The first generation only rolled around, it's only been around probably 30 years.
2010.
Yeah. I'd say, but I'm going back, like, let's say military, let's say the military had it.
1983.
Okay. So from 83, and then it really had the boom where it's just everywhere in about 2010, 2009-ish. So, I mean, we don't know any long-term effects. So really no one could say either way. I mean, we got to give it another 10, 20, 30 years before we can say, oh yeah, that made a difference. It did affect us. And
I can remember when people were telling me, do not wear your pager near your crotch.
I remember that. Yeah.
Because it would cause sterility.
Right. I remember people telling us don't be in the same room when you're using your microwave.
Yeah, I kind of lean on mine while I'm waiting.
I used to until I started hearing it spark one day, and then I'm like, whoa, wait. No.
Yeah, it's. I think a lot of it is fear mongering. Honestly, I think a lot of it is with fear mongering. It's just like what's coming out right now. You're seeing it all over Facebook about these with the vaping technology.
Right.
I know since we're on Conspiracy Corner. Okay, great. We've got Ohio. There's supposedly been 3 deaths so far from vaping. Okay, the technology for vaping has been around for about 10 years now. I've been doing it for many years. Never had any issues. Well, all of a sudden, all these people are like, oh, everybody's got to quit vaping now because they've already had 3 deaths. There again, we're not getting the whole picture. When you actually start doing the research on it and you find out that these news agencies aren't telling you the whole story.
Right.
These kids that died from this, it's because they were using black market products. They were adding crap to their e-liquids.
Right. What did they call that? Like, they had contests, like these modification contests.
Yeah.
It even tells you
build custom vape mods.
Right. It would say, warning, building these mods, we don't know what's going to happen. It can explode in your hand.
Well, it wasn't the explosion. It was the actual e-liquid that was causing all these injuries last month with these 3 that got hospitalized.
Right.
They were buying black market because the new Juul. I know you've seen okay, there's a little Juul. Okay, kids were getting these because they could hide them. They look like a USB stick. They can keep it in their stuff, and they were carrying it to school. However, they can order that online all day long, the Juul's product itself. But you got to be 18 to order the cartridges.
Right.
unless you buy them from a not certified location.
Right.
And that's what they were doing. They were buying black market Chinese knockoffs, and that's what's making the kids sick. And what pissed me off so much about it was that the news agencies were not reporting that. They were just saying all vape products. Well, the American Heart Association's already come out and said vaping is absolutely safe, and they're actually seeing an increase in lung capacities, and heart rates are actually getting better for people that are quit smoking and switch to that, because there's 3 ingredients in a vape juice. You've got your VG, PG, and the flavoring or nicotine. And that's it. Well, there's no telling what you're getting when you're ordering it from overseas in China.
Right.
You may have a lead paint chip in there too. Who knows?
Isn't that amazing that we can have the same effect from vaping with just 3 ingredients? Yet you go look at the ingredients and the chemicals in cigarettes, and it's about
4,000 plus chemicals.
Yeah, and including some of them. I mean, some of these things are just super deadly.
Yeah. You got benzene, chlorine, formaldehyde, all this stuff in a cigarette. There's over 4,000 chemicals. That's what actually makes you addicted, or those other chemicals. Studies have actually shown that nicotine is less addictive than sugar.
Right. Oh yeah, sugar's addictive, brother. It's bad.
Sugar and caffeine are more addictive than nicotine itself.
Yeah. That's
it's when your body is used to those other 4,000 chemicals and you've been smoking for 20 years. That's why you have the withdrawals so bad. Right. But people that have actually switched over to the vaping, and they do it correctly. They don't just do it like, oh, I'm going to do this because I'm going to go to these cloud competitions. I'm going to blow big clouds and make the whole room smell like cupcakes. But they're doing it correctly. They want to actually get on. So they start off at like a 24 milligram. They taper it down, and after about 3 months, they're vaping a 0. No nicotine whatsoever. They didn't have to go through the withdrawals.
Right.
And then they can just put the mod aside and they're done.
Yeah, that's, and I'm going to be honest with you. I was a 2-pack a day smoker. I would say about 5 years ago, man. And I won't say I smoked the whole cigarette every time, because I was in a truck. I would do deliveries. I owned a bread company, so you would get in the truck and it was just habit. You'd fire one up, take a couple hits. Oh, at my next stop, and I just flick it and throw it out. That's why I was going through 2 packs. I was one of those people that refused to put it out and re-smoke it later.
Yeah, because they're just nasty.
Yeah, I wasn't doing that. So then I did get a vape, and the vape, I started at I think it was 18.
Yeah.
And then I worked my way down, and then bam, I was like on just the juice. And I'm like, well, I don't even need to do this anymore. So I just stopped doing it. So,
and you're better for it now. You can taste things, you can breathe and everything. Yeah. And so basically all these news agencies are doing is trying to put a stigma like 5G, like people are doing with 5G, trying to put a stigma on it before they have all the information, which is going to make people do what? They're going to put down their vape mods. They're not going to use them anymore. And they're going to dish over some more money over to Philip Morris because they still got to have their kick.
Right. Hey, I'm going to tell you what, prior to me digging into this and knowing that this is what I wanted to talk about when I had you on, I mean, I was one of the people that was like, oh yeah, dude, because everything that I kept seeing,
5G's evil.
Yeah, my friends were sending me, and and they know what I'm into. So then I would, my time is so limited, I couldn't go, fine, all right, well, I'll put that in this basket. Let me go study this now. But I did that leading up to our show tonight, and I found out a lot of, they're not worried. My friends were saying, oh, well, this and that. Well, those aren't even the things they're really worried about with 5G. They're just worried about the combination of everything together, and then the frequency and how it's going to affect, like you said, the insects, possibly ants, bees, birds, and the vibrating of water. Is it going to change molecules? Is it going to affect algae?
You see, I didn't know about the vibration of the water until you mentioned it, but that's where immediately my mind went to. My mind went to that because I've done the research on the radio waves as far as affecting the human body. Well, they can't penetrate the epidermis, so that means your cells are going to be pretty safe. Okay, we vibrate our bodies every day, riding around in a car and stuff like that, and the vibrations don't really do anything. However, you start vibrating bodies of water, that's where my mind went to. Oh, this is going to disturb an ecosystem. So, I mean, you think about it, plants that have or airports, or not airports, but naval air bases and stuff like that do these jets flying by, and they do the sonic booms all the time.
Oh yeah.
Like that. That decimates the ecology around there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like there's no wildlife there, because those vibrations can actually affect the habitat.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
That's
yeah, I
amazing.
can see where if 5G is that particular frequency, which is 24 megahertz, can vibrate water, then yeah, we might want to look at maybe either changing it to 26 megahertz or a little higher, because higher or lower the frequency is going to change and it'll stop doing what it's doing.
Right. With all that said, man, and I love you being on, brother. You're a wealth of knowledge, and I'm having a great time with you tonight. And hopefully, fans, you're enjoying Mike as well. He's a great guy. Let's theory craft this a minute. I was reading an article that a guy put out with the 5G, and this is just it's something that makes you go, okay, plausible, maybe, possible, doubtful. But he said, okay, they've been chemtrailing for years. If you don't, if you believe that it's all contrails, then you won't buy into this. But if some of these are chemtrails and they are releasing chemtrails, and I just did a show on that, proving that we do have planes release chemicals, aluminums and phosphates and all kinds of other stuff, and seed clouds. But that, with our nanotechnology, let's say they were using the nanotechnology in the chemtrails. They're seeding these clouds. They're raining down onto us, the ecosystem. They're absorbing into our body. They're absorbing into the foods that we're eating, the animals that we're hunting, or cattle that we're raising. And then the 5G is implemented. And if 5G is able to manipulate water, and we have water or liquid, let's say, even, it doesn't even have to be water, a liquid, and we have these nanoparticles inside of us now that were planned to be inside of us, and the government says, here, now it's time to take this chip. And you get the chip inside you, and this chip was now your license, your birth certificate, it's your bank account. Everything is tied to that, and all you have to do is run your hand over anything you get. And they're doing that someplace.
Actually developed by Veritech Corporation in 2000, year 2000, because I was actually in Cancun, Mexico at a business conference when Veritech made their big announcement about the chip that they were going to be putting available for implantation.
Right. So now with that in you, and this is just a scenario that he made up. The nanotech has been absorbed into our body. The 5G can control these, the water, or let's say the blood, because your blood's liquid. And the nanotech that's inside of us actually has some type of stem cell. What's the word I'm looking for? Properties to it, kind of like they're doing with the stem cell healing now, and replacing knees or fixing, certain parts of your body, and even fighting cancer with stem cell now. So all they have to do is, if you accept it and you get the chip, they're like, hey, this can heal you now. You don't even have to go to the doctor. We got a program that we can upload to that. You come scan that program in, and it's going to control the molecules in your body through the 5G, and it's going to help to heal and rejuvenate, say, weak arteries in your heart.
Yeah, it'd basically be like what you see in sci-fi movies, where they actually tell the nanoparticles or the nanorobots or whatever they are to, hey, there's an artery weak here, send a batch up there to latch together and make a constructive wall to make a patch for it or something like that.
Right. So his whole thing was that this might not be as bad as we think. It could be something that's good that we just don't realize. And made me go, wow, okay. If you're a spiritual person, you might think Mark of the Beast. If you're an open mind person, you might think, wow, we might start living to 120, 30, 40, 50 years. And then if you're a conspiracy theorist, or you like to look into things, you could say, Okay, here we go now. AI meshing with humans. So now we're getting into transhumanism, and 5G is the gateway drug.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's a good theory that it could possibly be like that. As far as the technology, okay, we got chemtrails. We know that they're that the aluminum and the phosphate and stuff like that for seeding clouds and trying to get rain to come in different areas and stuff. We know about that. I've been on planes and actually seen the chemtrails come off of the wings and stuff. I've flown and watched it. I mean, half the stuff we're seeing in the skies are literally what they call prop wash.
Mm-hmm.
It's where warm air is actually mixed really quickly with cold air, and it just creates like a little cloud.
Right.
Okay. So that being said, you were saying that about coming down from the seeding and soaking into our skin and going in. I don't think our nanotechnology is to the point of being microscopic yet.
Okay.
I don't think we've gotten there yet, because I mean, we're just now starting to break the barriers on carbon nanotubes.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so expensive to get a centimeter of carbon nanotube done. Mm-hmm. We just recently figured out how to get, I forgot what metal it was, down to a liquid point by getting it just like without it actually breaking down and becoming something else.
Right.
I don't think we're there yet as far as the nanotechnology. Right. I've seen a lot of the nanotechnology that's out there. Mm-hmm. Some of it is maybe the size of like a sewing pinhead, the ones with little round dots on them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's still not small enough to absorb through your pores. We're going to have to be damn near microscopic.
Right. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. As far as it being absorbed into our skin, yeah, it's going to be probably microscopic or smaller.
Yeah, or smaller to get to that point. And we can't even get a self-driving car to work correctly.
Right.
So, I mean, like I said, I don't think we're to that point. One, I work in the machining and engineering field. Mm-hmm. So I know what it takes to build robotics.
Right.
And our technology is nowhere near that precise yet to do something on a microscopic level, because you would literally have to have lasers creating it.
Yeah, I mean, our robots now are still so clunky. It's crazy.
We've got some really cool robots that we've designed. I helped build one a couple of years ago that scaled it down. It was probably fit about in your hand, but it's not to that point, because everything has to be manufactured by a machine of some kind. We don't have microscopic machining implements.
Mm-hmm, correct. What is that? Speaking of robots, what's that one that's amazing, man? It's like that dog that even if it falls over, it can pick itself up. And
is it that little one that got the little arms on him?
Yeah, I think so. They were showing, and it can put itself back up, and then it can climb up. And
yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I was actually going to buy one for my kids, but then I saw the price tag on it. I was like, I'm not paying $300 for a robot that's 3 inches tall.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah, I mean, the things they come out with now, even for kids or even adults, or some adults are into that stuff. So,
here I want to talk about conspiracies. I mean, are sex robots going to kill us?
Oh,
they're opening up a one of those real doll sex brothels in Houston.
Are they?
Yes.
I've heard they've got them over in Europe. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they're here, but yeah, guy was showing some footage. I'm gonna have to. I don't know if you've seen that video, but I'll find it and I'll send it to you. These things look lifelike.
Yes, they do. The first time I heard of the dolls was HBO used to have a series on. I don't know if you remember it. You're around my age. Mm-hmm. HBO used to have a series on called Real Sex.
Oh yeah.
They'd go in and talk to people, and they'd discuss the taboo. Like they'd talk to somebody who had a poly relationship, or they'd talk. Well, then they went to the Real Doll Company,
mm-hmm. You're right,
and they were actually introduced you to people who have bought these things.
Yes.
Well, they're using that basis and putting it over the exoskeleton of these robots. Mm-hmm. And I saw the female robot AI and everything. That's creepy.
Yeah.
And since we want to talk about AI and the conspiracy on that, about they're going to come get us, when do we get to the point where we've developed AI and it becomes sentient and starts learning for itself? When do our prejudices as human beings start taking effect on the AI? We already do it to each other.
Right. I was just going to say that we can't even get over our own differences as humans.
I mean, and now we've created a sentient life form, because once it starts thinking, I would consider that a life form.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Once it realizes what it is and it can start thinking on its own, I would say that's the point of consciousness and sentience.
And it has to be something more than Sophia, because Sophia is a program.
Sophia is a program. Alexa is a damn it. Alexa is a program. I went ahead and said it. So that's a program. Google, your home, those are all algorithms.
Algorithms, they're scripted programs, correct.
But what happens in the day when you're at home and you wake up and your little dot or your Google Home goes, hey, Rich, it's time for you to wake up this morning. Hey, and by the way, don't forget to take your medication. You've got that. And I talked to the refrigerator. Your sandwich is still in there from yesterday. And have a great day. I'll see you when you get home, honey.
Right. Oh, and by the way, we need this from the store because we're down to a half a gallon of milk, no butter, and we have 2 eggs left. It's gonna know everything, you know.
It's kind of like the series, the Black Mirror series.
Oh yeah, I love that show too.
I love that. Did you get the analogy of the Black Mirror?
Yes, yes. I mean, and not only the Black Mirror, every episode in there, if you look at the names and then what they're about, they all have a hidden story.
Yeah.
Or there's a hidden theme or meaning behind everything.
It's a Black Mirror.
Yes.
It's the technology that we carry with us every day.
I don't want them to think I'm this crazy, but guys.
That's basically when I was reading a bio of it and everything, they were talking to one of the creators, and he said basically that's what the Black Mirror is. He said we carry one every day with us in our pockets.
Right. Yes.
When the screen is off, it is a blacked out mirror. It's the technology that we worship.
Well, here's another thing too. What's weird about the same with the Black Mirror, like I know that sometimes when it's off, you'll see sometimes the girls in the sunlight when it hits it, they're doing their lipstick and they're, you know, and with the picture off. So, yeah.
But is that camera on?
Yeah, right. Well, speaking of cameras and something being on, I'm going to tell you what. I have both my shoulders. I have torn rotator's cuff, and I refuse to have surgery. I've been using hemp oils and kind of trying to let them heal on their own. And I don't do a lot of heavy activity. I do a lot of lifting at work still, but I know how to lift and limit using my shoulders. But I put these patches on with the oils today, and somebody at work they saw me doing it, and they're like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Oh, they're just patches. They help my movement." And I didn't say shoulder. I didn't say what. But then when I was on Facebook and I was uploading one of my videos of my weekly update,
where you're going.
The very next video was how to work your shoulders out.
Yep. My wife, we have chickens on our property out here. I've got a bunch of chickens. Well, we were in the process of building a chicken coop. So she was on her phone looking up chicken coop designs.
Okay.
And she was telling me about them from across the room. I opened up my Facebook, and all of a sudden I'm getting advertisements for like, hey guys, here's your chicken coop you might like.
Yeah. Isn't it wild, man? Wow.
And there's been many times I've talked about something, picked up my phone, and this damn thing is listening to me.
Not only is it listening, here's what I was thinking, because I didn't say shoulders, but then it was saying ways to self-heal yourself through working out your shoulders. Is it watching us too? Did it watch? Did it watch? Because I had it just sitting on the sink in there. Did it watch as I applied those to my shoulder? And then, you know, he's like, "What's that for?" You know, and I didn't say anything about shoulders. I said it's oils and it helps movement.
Yeah.
And he didn't say shoulder. And then I'm like, "Yeah, all right, man, I'll see you later." And I go to do it, and it's like, you want to improve the strength in your shoulders, then do Big Bob's workouts. And, and it's showing this, and I'm like, what the hell?
Diamond Dave's yoga.
Yeah. Horrible.
I'm curious about that aspect because I have on multiple cases. Is it coincidence? Am I like there again? Is it causation, correlation? Is it just because I was talking about it, it's in my head, or maybe I did a Google search on it and I'm just not remembering that I did.
Oh, you're having a Mandela effect? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a movie with Shaq in it. Or what's his name? Sinbad.
Oh, Sinbad, yes.
Yeah, Sinbad.
There's a lot of those. Now, you know what, too? I know we're all over the place, but we're having fun tonight. And
hey, it's Conspiracy Corner.
That's right. And I think we kind of got our point across in the 5G. But with the
do your research on it.
Yeah, and I always say, feed your head, find your own truths. We can talk about it and we can look it up, and we each have our own opinion. But at the end of the day, we're just two normal guys. What we say, you can't take for granted. You got to go out there and find it on your own. But we're here to entertain as well, and hopefully lead you in the right direction.
And we gave you plenty of citations tonight where you can actually
look.
I mean, the World Health Organization, you can go look up that rat study that I talked about. You can look up what the hertz are. I mean, I pulled that directly from a technical site that actually tells you what hertz 5G is going to be running at. That's how I knew exactly that was. And then I went to some science websites that actually talked about the different frequencies, like at 70 hertz 70 hertz per minute squared is when at the point when it can just start to penetrate the epidermis. At 24 megahertz, it's still reflective. It's bouncing.
Right. And go check out the EU appeal. That's right there. Yeah. It's all documented. And as a matter of fact, yesterday they just had a big meeting, and a lot of the stuff that we were talking about is from that meeting yesterday, their concerns. I didn't even know about the vibrations in the water until I learned from that. And so, go and read. You guys might find something that we'd be interested in. And if you do, pass it on to us.
Yeah.
Your listeners, my listeners, either one of us, and we'll be happy to share whatever you find. But the Mandela effect, what killed me about that is I thought, all right, there are some people try to say it's misremembering things. And it really all started happening around 2012, going into the new age of Aquarius, as people say. And I'm not trying, but what I think about the Mandela effect is how I feel about it. Yes, a lot of those things are different than the way they used to be. But is it on purpose? Are they doing that to make us think that we're crazy? And then they come out and say, oh, you're just misremembering it. To kind of make people start going, dude, am I going loony? I mean, so they're kind of like conditioning us into false truths for some reason. If you think like that, I'm just saying.
Well, I actually listened to an interview the other day with a woman who's been studying the Mandela effect since the 60s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it wasn't called the Mandela effect.
Obviously, right.
And she's talked with several theoretical physicists, particle physicists and stuff like that. And they all they're like, we don't discuss this at work because you could be woo, but on their own, they're like, what is going on? And one of the theories is the Mandela effect, not necessarily it's the government doing it to us. What happens if it's the fact that we've got the multiverse theory? Yeah. We've got alternate dimensions of us, and we're just kind of like every now and then there's a scrape in the universe, and one reality bleeds over into the other. Something is just slightly different from that reality than what we remember. Because I know that now you can go online and look it up, and every website everywhere will tell you there was never a movie that had Sinbad as a genie. I can vividly remember watching it.
I can too.
And and just other little things that are
I'm gonna
supposedly
tell you
part of.
one. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. One that kills me, and my mom believes it now too, is we used to sing the Oscar Mayer baloney song.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my baloney has a
The
first,
first name.
and now it's Mayer. It's spelled different.
Oscar Mayer.
Right.
Looney Tunes. We look at Looney Tunes. I mean, how do you remember it being spelled as a kid?
I remember it being Toons.
That's how I remember it, but that's not how it is. It's
I know.
Tunes.
I remember it LoonyToons. Looney Tunes. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
It's these small things. It's like an effect. And I was really thinking about the Mandela effect the other day because I listened to that interview, and then I started rewatching the Fringe series,
Oh yeah, great show.
and it was like, oh wow, okay, like there's alternate something from that universe bled over into ours.
Hmm. Hmm. You know, do you
Which,
know about quantum computing? Obviously,
mm-hmm,
all right, and the D-wave quantum computing with the qubits,
mm-hmm.
and the guy who actually created the D-wave, he was on a TED talk. Have you watched that?
No, I haven't.
Okay, if you ever get a chance, it's a few years old, but he says in there, he goes, this technology, he goes, we have to make it colder than the deeps of outer space to be able to run these processors. They get so hot, we have to have them cooled. We have to cool the temperature inside this, he says, almost altar. It looks like it's an ancient altar to an alien that we've created. And that it's allowing them to go into parallel universes, steal resources, and come back.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to check. And that was on TED Talk.
yeah, and that's basically what Fringe is about. The show Fringe.
And so he was. I mean, he said that with that technology, they can open up and go to the parallel universe, steal, come back, and move along. So it might happen, and I fully believe it had to happen in several different times, but 2012 being the last time that maybe something with our universe,
And what else was going on in 2012?
what was going on?
CERN.
Oh, that's wow, you're right, dude. That was the very first launch, the first collision of CERN in Switzerland.
Yep.
You know what's
the
scary?
Hadron Super Collider.
Yeah, you know what's scary about that is I was reading that there's over 36,000 different hadron colliders around the world.
Mm-hmm. There was actually supposed to be one built here in Texas, and the funding got pulled or something, and they just basically bulldozed dirt off into it.
And the one in
because
Switzerland,
they actually have to build them underground.
Right. The one in Switzerland being the biggest, and then they have one like somewhere in Illinois. It's only 5 inches.
Yeah.
But there's any major university, they say if you go underneath, most of them have these. And
yeah, I actually read an article here recently. It was a high school kid built a super collider in his garage.
That's crazy. And what if we're opening up the veil to not only other universes? What if we're going into other dimensions?
Yeah, and that's been my theory, because I know you've listened to some of my shows, and that's been my theory on some of the paranormal.
Right.
Is what if what we're seeing is actually a bleed over from an alternate universe? Because string theory, we haven't proven it, but the math lines up, everything lines up that we have multiple universes, countless universes lined up throughout and dimensions. So why aren't some of these things that we're seeing, like the skinwalkers or Bigfoot crossing back and forth, or hey, we're going into the paranormal now, or these ghosts? Or these ghosts that we're seeing, are they crossing over from another dimension, or are they physical manifestations of our mind? Are we creating a tulpa effect?
Yeah, yeah. With you saying that, and if you look at it, look how much activity or how much paranormal occurrence has happened since 2012.
Yeah.
So what if, like you're saying, man, 30% of it is paranormal. Another 30% of it could be the timelines bleeding over and we're getting glimpses of the other side. And it's not an,
Or the fact that we're being inundated on our media with all these paranormal shows, and therefore we're conditioning our brain to start acknowledging things that we may not have noticed before, or the fact that we're literally creating it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've been on many investigations. I'm the guy they bring in as the skeptic. I'm the one who's there pretty much to go, no, I'm going to call bullshit on this.
Right. Yeah.
However, I've caught stuff on video that I can't explain. I've caught EVPs that are audible EVPs. The guy you had on a while back was
Housley, Gary Housley.
Yeah, I tried to listen. He sent me a bunch of his EVPs, and I was like, I'm not hearing it. I'm sorry. It's like, you're grasping, dude. You're grasping at the straws on this. I'm not hearing it. That to me is not evidence. When I can actually hear. I mean, I have a few of them already loaded up if you want me to play one.
Right. Now, with Housley, I'm going to say this. Gary, I love him. I still talk with him. He reached out to us. I had him on, and I've got the actual footage again. And man, I heard Housley.
And he sent me the footage. I couldn't hear it.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I even drowned some stuff out in the background, and I used a couple of different programs that I have. And then it almost sounded like it wasn't Housley fully. It was like House.
And see, and that's my problem with it, is if we've got to go through all this filtering and distorting and taking stuff out. If you don't mind, I've got a little clip that I'll play you real quick.
Yeah, absolutely, brother.
And I did no doctoring to it. The actual video footage, I can send it to you. The actual video footage that I posted on Facebook, I filmed it from the camera with my iPhone. I filmed the camera actually playing the tape.
No, I want to hear it. And fans, guess what? Right now, this is what did they used to do on MTV back in the day? World premiere.
It's been on my show, so. All right, so listen to this. Okay.
Okay, people.
You could definitely hear a woman's voice, right?
Yeah. Wow. Okay, play that once again.
Okay.
Okay, people.
Now,
yeah,
I have to give you a little context to what's going on here. I'm not going to tell you what it says. I'll send you the audio tracks and let you listen to them yourself. The reason I'm not going to tell you what it's saying, what I think it's saying, is because I don't want to preload you.
Okay.
And anytime I'm reviewing EVP footage, I have people that send it to me all the time. I'm like, do not tell me in your description what it is. Just send me the file.
That's the smart move.
Because I don't want to have that pareidolia effect where I'm already, you told me, oh, it said yes. Well, duh, now all I'm going to hear is yes.
Right.
Okay. So
I'm just going to say this right now. I won't say exactly everything that I thought I heard, but I think I did hear, ooh, baby, something. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, okay. In that room, there were 3 men. I was being totally silent. I was carrying an IR night vision camera, and we had 4 recorders set up, EM meters, all this stuff right there. And I'm the guy that's standing back while they're asking the questions and filming them, because I have caught people going,
right. Yeah.
EVP. So that's what I was doing. No instrument caught this except my camera. And we went back through everything, but I've got, so you can kind of hear, I'm going to play this real quick. It's the same track, but you can hear us in the background. Okay, so here it goes. This is not dead air, everybody.
Who are you?
And this is the point where we're getting ready to leave and you hear us walking around.
Okay, people.
Wow.
Okay, that's what I would call a class A. That is when somebody sends me
Wow, yeah.
something like that, or I capture something like that. That's like, there's something going on there. And in that same room, I rounded the corner, and we heard this.
Yeah.
That's definite voice
Yeah.
phenomena.
And those are
So,
two different voices.
two different voices within a 10-foot area.
And one of, because the first one almost sounded like maybe a Southern Cajun or French.
It has a little Latin twist to it.
Yeah.
Something
That's why I said kind of like Cajun, that old Southern Cajun is.
Yeah. So that's the type of stuff that I've caught. And
Wild.
can I explain it? No.
Yeah.
Do
dude,
I
I'd
know
love
what's
to hear
going
it.
on? I can document everything in that room because I had video footage of it. People have asked me, well, is it a bleed over from an old tape? Because I filmed this on a high 8.
Right.
Because a lot of the newer recorders that you're getting now have so many filters in them, it just gets rid of everything.
Amazing.
And so I record it on, actually it's that camera you see right over here in the corner, that that high 8. And anytime I use it, I always open a brand new tape. I never record over them unless it's a family event or something like that.
Right.
But if it's for an investigation, it's always a brand new tape. So I'm not getting that masking effect of recording over something and you have a bleed through from the previous recording.
Right.
So that's eliminating that variable. And what are these? We don't know. I can't go out and say, yep, that was definitely a spirit. I don't know.
Right.
Would I have been picking up a radio wave maybe?
Yeah. Well, it's picking up a channel down in Tijuana
or somebody's baby monitor. I mean, I know for a fact there was nothing like that in this building. This particular building we were actually called out to because they were experiencing all kinds of phenomenon, to people getting pushed, stuff getting knocked over and stuff. And this part of the building we went into was a part that had actually been gutted by a fire. That's why you hear all that crackling. We're walking around on a bunch of ash and junk.
Let me ask you, doing that, have you ever been physically touched, pushed?
Okay, my mind went somewhere else. Physically touched. Yes, I have quite a few times. I've had I've had minor stuff happen.
Okay.
I've had this type of activity around me my whole life.
Makes you a believer more than a skeptic?
I don't know if it makes me a believer because I'm always still looking for answers.
Yeah, me too.
And which is why I ask the questions, the why questions. Could that cold that just went through the room that I felt go past me, that caused me bone chills and everything, could it just be a change in the atmosphere? It's getting dark outside. We know how heat can change the temperature on the outside of your home, which could cause a vacuum to pull it through a crack in your windows or something or whatever. Always looking for answers. And there again, sometimes I don't have an answer. And you know what? And that's any of your listeners out there, you know what? It's totally fine to say, I don't know.
Right.
A lot of people are afraid to admit, I don't know.
I witness things all the time. I don't know what they are. I've visually seen orbs.
We saw, I had to help MUFON do an investigation here. The family actually came to me first before they actually contacted anybody else.
Right.
They came to me and I was like, whoa, stop. When did this happen? They were like, just like a few hours ago. And I'm like, stop. Don't tell me another word. Write everything down before you forget. And then we'll proceed. And so I contacted MUFON, and Jeremy doesn't live in this area anymore. He's moved over to Los Angeles now as one of their coordinators. But I called the airports and there was nothing in the air that night. Everything was grounded at that point. And whatever this was, it actually flew up beside them on their car going down the highway, scared the crap out of the guy behind them. He hauled ass. And it flew over their vehicle and then went in behind the tree line and then took off.
Oh, wow.
And it was about 3 nights later. We're sitting here in my living room and my son's looking out the big bay windows out of our den. And he's like, Dad, there's something in the pasture. And we're looking at it. It was a green light that was going back and forth in the pasture. And all of a sudden it just shot straight up and went up in the sky and disappeared.
Yeah. Part of my story growing up is it deals with my grandfather's 500 acres 4 full body apparitions that stayed with me for close to 30 years. And yeah, it's I'll send you a link. I talked about it in a couple of my shows,
Yeah.
but we're getting man, I cannot believe we've talked for about an hour and a half tonight, guys. We're just, I mean, we're on one. We're cutting it up. Man, I could talk with Mike another 2 hours. Hopefully, maybe I can come on your show.
No problem. I'd love to have you come on and we can discuss paranormal investigations, books.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
I want to try to get Josh on because I know he's got his book coming out. You just announced it in your weekly in your
update. Yeah, his book just came out, and man, it's a good read, man. I've gotten to read some of it, and his idea on things. I've got a show that I did with him prior to yours that'll probably come out a week before yours, and his man. When it comes to paranormal, man, this guy's on his A game. You know, we were talking about the veil, and
did you see my answer to that? That question?
I didn't say it. No, I don't think I did. I mean, I saw a lot, but it's hard for me to remember because you know how we are.
He posed that question on Facebook about the veil. And so my question was, because obviously I want to think about this. Let's think about it. He said, why is it that most paranormal experiences happen at 3:30 in the morning? Is it because at that particular point, the veil is thinner? Well, my question was, which 3:30? Right. Because it's always, well, not 3:30, 3 o'clock, because it's always 3 a.m. somewhere.
Right, somewhere around
the
world.
Is this moving? It's kind of like the experiment I did with my Ouija board.
I told him, and here was my whole, and that was a great interview, folks. When you see that one, you're going to love it as well. Or you probably saw it right before this one. But my idea always with that is that I don't think the veil's any thinner or thicker this time of year, this time of night. What I do believe is that this time of year, there's more energy being focused on that due to the holiday. So maybe that makes it more, you know what they say, when you get a group of people and they all have the same energy focused on something,
the
intentionality will help to manifest things that normally wouldn't be seen by a normal eye.
That was the whole premise behind my Ouija board experiment I did about a month and a half ago. I custom built do woodwork. I'll have to send you a picture of it, but I made a custom Ouija board, planchette, everything. I did it, all the hand painting on it, everything. And my experiment was I had it set up right here in front of me where I'm sitting on this table. I had that camera that's up there watching me. I had that camera on it. I had an infrared camera over here. I had a motion detector camera over here. I had a high definition camera sitting behind me, all focused in on this Ouija board. And then I had 3 audio recorders, and I had this boom microphone over it, and I had this other boom microphone over it. And everybody was like, well, it's not going to work that way. And I was like, why? I said, this is what the experiment is. We often hear stories of Ouija boards moving on their own. So I'm going to open the communication by putting my hands on it, doing the figure eights, opening the communications and whatever. I said, and at that point, I'm going to walk away from the board. I'm going to leave my office studio. I'm going to close the door and I'm going to lock it. I said, this camera up here is going to be facing down on the board, and it is going to be live streamed. And 300 people tune into it. And I said, and I will also be in the chat box too. Ask it the questions. And they were like, well, how's it going to move? Your hands aren't on it. I said, because I'm eliminating that one variable. We know people can move the board around. But if the theory that it can move on its own by pure intentionality, we got 300 of us watching this and asking it questions, focusing our thoughts on it. Let's see if we can make it move. The board never moved. However, this was a very, very loud room. And I've got soundproofing up all over the place. I had people that were messaging me on Messenger going, are you sure you're not in the room? And I had one guy didn't believe me. He FaceTimed me on my phone. Where are you at? And I said, I'm in my den right here. See? I held up my phone and I was like, oh, okay, where's the office? So I walked back there and I showed him the office. I unlocked the door, opened it, and he was watching it on video too. And he's okay, I just saw the light from the door. So I closed it. And he goes, dude, there's all kinds of noise in your room. My son was listening to it on his headphones. He had logged into the Facebook Live and was listening to it. And he's sitting there beside me. And all of a sudden he kind of looks at me and goes, Dad, there's a woman in your office and she's talking.
Oh.
However, this was the weird part. None of the cameras caught any of that. None of the audio recorders caught any of that. The only place any of that sound turned up was on the Facebook feed.
That is crazy.
And I ran it for 2.5 hours
Right.
on Facebook Live.
Wow.
Until it finally crashed. And that was the weird part, because a friend of mine who I've done paranormal investigations with, he goes, okay, you're getting ready to end it. He goes, yeah. He says, go in that office, put your hands on it and start asking questions, see if it moves anymore. The minute I walked in and put my hands on the planchette, the Facebook Live feed froze.
Wow.
And disconnected. I mean, you can actually see it go.
Nice. That's
so
crazy.
What happened, we don't know, but it didn't move. And then I set it over there where that painting is on the table. I set it over there with the planchette on it and put the motion detector camera on it. I said, all right, I'm still leaving you open. Do whatever you got to do. I left it there for 2 weeks with the motion detector camera watching it. Never caught anything.
Wow. Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Bummer it is. Well, man, brother, fans, you got more than you bargained for tonight. We got 5G. We got Mandela Effect. We got paranormal. We got to talk about a little bit of the Ouija board here at the end. Man, Mike, you are a great, great person to have on, brother. You're a wealth of knowledge. And I like the way you think, man. And fans, if you have not seen any of his stuff, go check him out. You know, all the information I've got listed. And at the end here, I'll put up any ways you can check him out on YouTube or Facebook. And, you know, I think Josh and Mike and we're going to all kind of be staying in touch with each other. And as we grow, we're going to probably grow together. And so you'll be seeing a lot.
Together with all of us on one Zoom call.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Yeah. Well, I've got it where I can get up to 100 people on this one.
Yeah. We just need to get like all of us in on one Zoom conference.
That'd be great. Yeah.
And just be like everybody shows in one, and we're just going to do like a 4-hour session.
I would love it. Yeah. I think Josh would be down for it.
Everybody bring a beer and we're good to go.
We're going to do that. All right, guys. Well, Mike, thank you, my friend, for coming on.
It was a pleasure, and I thank you for asking me to come on. It was fun. I enjoyed this.
Yeah. Oh no, like I said, man, I have no format. we shoot from the hip.
That's pretty much the way my show is too.
And wherever it lays at the end is where it lays, and you look at it and go, mwah, masterpiece.
We're posting this raw dog. That's how I do it on my show.
I hear you. And like that artwork in the back behind them, folks, take a look at that. That is beautiful. Speaking of masterpieces.
Yeah, if anybody wants to actually see the artwork, you can follow me on Facebook. He'll have a link for all that stuff. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or whatever. I post all my artwork that I do there. I paint. I do wood carvings. I do custom woodwork. Also a published author. So if you want to go buy my book, go for it. I've actually 6 books.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I've got all that info at the front, and yeah, I'll definitely throw them links in there for you, Mike. And yeah, people, check out his artwork. It is amazing. And I'm going to tell you, I did not know that you were an author up until when we talked earlier today. So I'm going to definitely delve into some of your stuff, bud.
It's not paranormal or anything. When it comes to my writing, I'm a fiction writer. I like horror. The darker, the better. And my wife was going to try to be my editor at one time because she can grammar the hell out of a writing. Mm-hmm. And she had my first book, and she brought it back to me about 15 minutes later. And she goes, I can't do this. And I went, why? She goes, what is wrong with you?
I love it. All right, man. Well, look, brother, it's been great. And fans, we hope you had a nice ride tonight. Conspiracy Corner. I guess tonight we proved that we really just don't know. We have to wait another 20 or 30 years. And if we're growing testicles behind our ears and tails on our nose, 5G was the culprit, or was it? Until then, God bless, stay safe, and have a wonderful night.
Out of here.
Like, ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? Ride with me if you ride with me, you can slide with me if you feel like 550 on the 5 sticky, come get high with me, that's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right?